Hello and welcome to the Mastermind semi-finals with me, Clive Myrie. In the spotlight tonight are Will Vince, a data analyst whose specialist subject is the paintings of Vincent van Gogh. Paul Riseby-Crisp, a performance director whose subject is the Bill and Ted films. Patrick Wilson, a head of global health communications who will be answering questions on 1990s drum and bass music. And Alice Walker, a retired IT consultant. Her subject, the 19th century photographer Julia Margaret Cameron. Four contenders, one goal to reach the grand final of Mastermind. Each has a proven track record of overcoming the nerves and the glare of the spotlight, emerging triumphant from the heats. But now the pressure's really on because at stake is the chance to compete for the famous Mastermind glass bowl. 2 minutes of specialist subject, questions, and 2.5 minutes of general knowledge are the twin peaks they must now climb, so buckle up and good luck. Can I ask our first semi-finalist to join us, please? Your name?
Will Vince.
And your occupation?
Data analyst.
And your specialist subject?
The paintings of Vincent van Gogh.
Yes, the oil paintings of the famous 19th century Dutch artist. In 2 minutes, starting now. What 1885 work by Van Gogh, one of his very few group portraits, depicts 5 people sharing a meal in a dimly lit room?
The potato eaters.
Yes, what flowering plant is visible in the foreground of both versions of the portrait of Dr. Gachet?
Sunflowers.
No, foxglove. What was the name of the owner of the Café de la Gare in Arles, who was the subject of a series of paintings by Van Gogh entitled La Laisienne?
Marie Genoux.
Yes, Madame Genoux. 2 paintings dating from 1887 depict a view of Paris from Van Gogh's room in his brother Theo's apartment in which street in Montmartre?
Rue Lepic.
Yes, the print, Geishas in a Landscape, once owned by Van Gogh and subsequently stolen from the Courtauld Gallery in London, appears in the background of which of his paintings, also in the Courtauld collection?
Self-portrait with a bandaged ear.
Yes. What was the name of the restaurant in Asnières, the exterior of which was painted in the Impressionist style in an 1887 work by Van Gogh, now in the collection of the Musée d'Orsay?
Restaurant de la Sirène.
Yes, which Belgian painter posed for the unfinished 1888 work, The Poet, in which he's portrayed against the background of a starry deep blue sky?
Eugene Bosch.
Yes. The White House at Night, completed a few weeks before the artist's death, is a painting of a house in which small town on the northwest outskirts of Paris?
Auvers-sur-Oise.
Yes, which September 1888 painting depicts a billiard table at the centre of a room with lurid red walls, a green ceiling and a dull yellow floor?
The Night Cafe.
Yes, what was the name of the model for the 1889 portrait La Berceuse, in which a woman sits in front of a floral patterned background holding a rope attached to an unseen cradle?
Augustine Roulin.
Yes, an 1888 painting signed by Van Gogh with a striking red Vincent because, in his own words, he wanted a red note in the green, is entitled Seascape Near Where?
Scheveningen.
No, Les Saintes Maries de la Mer. And Will, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've scored 9 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Paul Riseby-Crisp.
Your occupation?
Performance director.
And your specialist subject?
The Bill and Ted films.
3 films that chronicle the journeys through time and the afterlife of Bill, played by Alex Winter, and Ted, played by Keanu Reeves. In 2 minutes, starting now. In Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, when a time traveller named Rufus returns to 1988 to help Bill and Ted pass a crucial history test, he gives them a time machine in the form of what object?
A phone booth.
Yes, on their first trip into the past in Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted accidentally bring which historical figure back with them from 1805 to the present?
Napoleon.
Yes, Napoleon Bonaparte, when Billy the Kid introduces himself to some young women at the San Dimas shopping mall. He shows them a reward notice that offers how many dollars for his capture?
$1,200.
Yes, in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Chuck de Nomalos sends evil robot doubles of Bill and Ted back in time to kill them and stop their band, Wild Stallions, from triumphing at the Battle of the Bands contest, which is to be held at what venue?
The Civic Auditorium.
Yes, San Dimas Civic Auditorium. In Bogus Journey, what's the name of the shop where Bill and Ted get the parts that the alien engineer station needs to create good robot versions of the pair?
Builder's Emporium.
Yes, when Bill and Ted play a game of battleships against the Grim Reaper in Bogus Journey, what grid coordinate does Ted guess to win the game?
J7.
Yes, Bill, Ted and the Grim Reaper go to heaven in search of help in defeating the evil robots. Which musician plays the gatekeeper in heaven who asks them the question, what is the meaning of life?
Pass.
When Bill, Ted, their children and assorted musicians go to the Grim Reaper to try to escape from hell, Ted comments that the Reaper is cheating at what game?
Hopscotch.
Yes, in Excellent Adventure, Ted is in a history class when the teacher, Mr. Ryan, asks him who Joan of Arc was. What is Ted's answer?
Noah's wife.
Yes, when Thea and Billy try to convince the Grim Reaper to rejoin Wild Stallions in Face the Music, they tell him that which of his solo albums was the most underrated album of 1998?
The Lonely Soul Surfer.
Yes, Bill and Ted's children, Thea and Billy, travel back in time to 1922, where they play Louis Armstrong, a clip of Jimi Hendrix performing which song?
Amazing Grace.
Yes, which guitarist is credited with performing triumphant air guitars and additional music for the finale of Bogus Journey?
Steve Vai.
It is Steve Vai. And Paul, you had just a one pass. That musician who plays the gatekeeper in heaven, it's Taj Mahal. And at the end of that round, Paul, you've got 11 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Patrick Wilson.
Your occupation?
Head of Global Health Communications.
And your specialist subject?
Is drum and bass in the 1990s.
The genre of electronic dance music that originated in Britain during the early 1990s. In 2 minutes. Starting now, which leading drum and bass musician, whose real name is Clifford Price, released some of his early tracks under the name Roughage Crew?
Goldie.
Yes, what club night on Thursdays at Heaven in London with Fabio and Groove Rider as resident DJs was founded in 1988 and was key to the development of the jungle and drum and bass genres?
Rage.
Yes. What's the title of the 1994 Top 40 single by UK Apache with Shy FX? That's a reworked version of the earlier Shy track Gangster Kid.
Original Nutter.
Yes, Valerie Kemi Olusanya, better known as Chemistry, formed an influential DJ and recording duo with her friend and musical partner Jane Keneally, herself better known by what DJ name?
Storm.
Yes, the duo, origin unknown, comprising Ant Miles and Andy C, partly made their track Valley of the Shadows using samples from a CD that had come free with what magazine?
Mix Mag?
No, Future Music. In which town in southern England did Basement Phil set up his company Vinyl Distribution and the Record Basement Shop, both of which played an important role in the scene throughout the 1990s?
Reading.
Yes, who was credited with introducing the two-step style that would become a standard across the genre, with his track Pulp Fiction released on the Metalheads label in 1995?
Alex Reese.
Yes, what's the title of the album by Ronnie Size and Represent that won the 1997 Mercury Prize?
New Forms.
Yes, in 1993, Cool FM teamed up with which fellow pirate radio station to stage the live event Jungle Book The Rave at the Rocket in Holloway?
I was there. Weekend Rush.
Weekend Rush FM, yes. Rob Haig created many popular drum and bass tracks, such as Renegade Snares, under what alias?
Omni Trio.
Yes, what record label was established in 1989 by the music group 4Hero, an early lineup of which consisted of Digo, Mark Mack, Ian Bardui and Gus Lawrence?
Reinforced Records.
Yes. Who released the jungle and drum and bass album Black Secret Technology on his own Juicebox Records label in 1995?
Guy Called Gerald.
Yes. Which DJ twice remixed the track Mutant Jazz by T-Power? I've started, so I'll finish. Initially as The Mutant, and then again as Mutant Revisited, the latter version said to exemplify the subgenre of drum and bass known as tech step.
Okay, I know the original. Who remixed it? Andy C.
No, it was DJ Trace.
Trace, of course.
Patrick, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 11 points. And our final contender, please. Your name?
Alice Walker.
Your occupation?
Retired IT consultant.
And your specialist subject?
Julia Margaret Cameron.
The acclaimed 19th century photographer who took up the art form at the age of 48. In 2 minutes, starting now. Cameron was born Julia Margaret Patel, the fourth of 7 sisters, in which Asian city in 1815?
Calcutta.
Yes, Kolkata. In 1842, which British astronomer, whom Cameron had first met in Cape Town, sent her 24 colotypes, believed to be the first photographs she ever saw?
John Herschel.
Yes, what name, after one of their estates in Ceylon, did Cameron and her husband, Charles Hay, give to the property that they purchased on the Isle of Wight in 1860?
Dimbola Lodge.
Yes, what was the name of the local child who was the subject of Cameron's first known photograph, dating from January 1864?
Annie Philpott.
Yes, Cameron's 1864 portrait of 2 children holding an umbrella was inspired by and shares its title with what French novel by J.H. Bernardin de Saint-Pierre?
Paul and Virginia.
Yes, which nobleman was the subject of a photograph taken by Cameron in May 1865 and gave the portrait the nickname the Dirty Monk, a reference to his unkempt appearance?
Tennyson.
Yes, Lord Tennyson. What was the name of the porter at Yarmouth Ferry Pier who posed for Cameron as King Arthur for a photographic edition of Tennyson's poem cycle Idylls of the King?
William Warder.
Yes, the 1869 photograph My Ewan's Bride is a portrait of which young woman who married Cameron's son Ewan in November of that year?
Annie Chinnery.
Yes, which Scottish literary figure memorably described his 1867 portrait taken by Cameron as terrifically ugly and woe-begone, but has something of a likeness?
Carlyle.
Yes, Thomas Carlyle. Cameron died in January 1879, and when her husband, Charles Hay, died the following year, he was buried beside her in the grounds of which church in Bogawanta, Lawa, Ceylon?
St Mary's Church.
Yes. In 1876, Cameron took several photographs of which British botanical artist in Kalutara, the only European whom she's known to have photographed in Ceylon during the final years of her life?
Marianne North.
Yes. Which 16-year-old actress posed for a Cameron portrait that's sometimes called Sadness in 1864?
Ellen Terry.
Yes, Cameron's niece, Julia Jackson, is referred to by what name in the title of an 1867 Cameron portrait in reference to the man who would soon become her first husband?
Mrs Herbert Duckworth.
It was Mrs. Herbert Duckworth. And Alice, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 13 points.
Thank you.
And at the end of the specialist subjects round, let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 9 points, it's Will. In joint 2nd place with 11 points each, Paul and Patrick. And in 1st place with 13 points, it's Alice. So now the general knowledge round, and if there's a tie at the end, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, then it's a tie break. So let's ask Will to join us again, please. So, Will, you start with 9 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Starting now. A person referred to as an Anglophone is a speaker of what language?
English.
Yes, an electric current can be described as AC or DC. What do the letters DC stand for in this context?
Delineating current.
No, direct current. Hattie McDaniel became the first African-American to win an Oscar when she won the Best Supporting Actress award for her role in what 1939 film?
Gone with the Wind.
Yes. What 1980s graphic novel by Alan Moore is set in a dystopian Britain where resistance to the oppressive regime is carried out by a mysterious figure wearing a white face mask?
V for Vendetta.
Yes. Which US city has an American football team called the Ravens who won the Super Bowl in 2013?
Baltimore.
Yes. During the Second World War, the Dickin Medal, sometimes called the Animal Victoria Cross, was awarded on most occasions to what type of bird for delivering important messages?
Pigeons.
Yes. Which American soul singer had UK hit singles in the 1960s with Do You Know the Way to San Jose and Walk On By, and with Heartbreaker in 1982?
Otis Redding.
No, Dionne Warwick. In September 2021, which politician, published, novelist and former contestant on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here was appointed Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport?
Nadine Dorris.
Nadine Dorris, yes. Which comic ballet by Leo Delibes has an alternative title that translates as The Girl with the Enamel Eyes?
The Girl with the Pearl Fishers.
No, Coppelia. An inscription that begins with the words Partners in Throne and Grave appears on a monument in Westminster Abbey, marking the burial vault of Mary I and which other Queen of England?
Elizabeth I.
Yes. In September 2020, Adam Beales from Northern Ireland became the 40th official presenter of which long-running children's television programme?
Blue Peter?
Yes. What legal term derived from the Latin for one who goes before another refers to the premise that a previous case or legal decision should be considered as guidance for subsequent similar cases?
Precedent.
Yes. What name, after a British commander in the Crimean War, is given to a style of sleeve that extends in one piece to the neckline of a garment instead of having seams at the armholes?
Cardigan?
No, raglan sleeve. Which motorway has service stations called Kiel, Knutsford and Charnock Richard?
The M1?
No, the M6, the religious reformer Girolamo Savonarola, who was executed in Florence in 1498, ordered a series of burnings of books and other works that became known as the Bonfire of the what?
Traitors?
No, Bonfire of the Vanities. And Will, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you now have a total of 18 points.
Thank you.
And next up, it's Paul. So, Paul, you start with 11 points. The score to beat as it stands is 18 points. And you've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. The name of which national park in northwest England refers to the many bodies of water, such as Ullswater and Thirlmere, that lie within it?
The Lake District.
Yes, the term plates of meat is rhyming slang for which parts of the body?
Feet.
Yes, what common first aid technique, named after the American surgeon who developed it, involves standing behind someone who is choking and sharply applying pressure to their abdomen?
The Heimlich manoeuvre.
Yes, the common species of what bird of the falcon family is sometimes known in Britain as the wind hover because of its habit of hanging in the air with its headed to the wind?
Kestrel.
Yes, which Hollywood actress and child star was born Frances Ethel Gum in Grand Rapids, Minnesota in 1922?
Shirley Temple.
No, Judy Garland. The island of New Guinea is shared between Papua New Guinea and which other country?
Borneo.
No, Indonesia. The Australian $100 banknote issued in 1996 features a depiction of the engineer and military leader Sir John Monash and a portrait of which opera singer and dame?
Kirita Kanawa.
No, Dame Nellie Melba. The aristocratic character Lord Marmaduke of Bunkerton, who first appeared in the Beano in 1938, is better known by what name?
Walter the Softy.
No, Lord Snooty. According to Pythagoras' theorem, if the two shortest sides of a right-angled triangle measure 3 inches and 4 inches, the length of the longest side is how many inches?
5.
Yes. What French term meaning on an equal footing is used in English for a young person who undertakes childcare or housework in a foreign country in return for room and board?
Au pair.
Yes. What 2020 television documentary series subtitled Murder, Mayhem and Madness follows the life of an American zoo owner calling himself Joe Exotic?
The Tiger King.
Yes. Which SI unit is equal to 1 Newton per square metre?
A kilogram.
No, Pascal. Which famous revolutionary's memoir recording his travels through South America when he was a student was published in English as The Motorcycle Diaries and was adapted as a film released in 2004?
Che Guevara.
Yes. What type of wingless parasitic insect, known for its jumping ability, was a major agent for transmitting bubonic plague in the Middle Ages?
Flea.
Yes. What's the term for the high-altitude belt of winds up to 9 miles above the Earth's surface that usually blows from west to east across the North Atlantic and influences weather systems beneath?
Stratosphere.
No, the jet stream, an artwork in the collection of the National Gallery of Scotland, painted around 1795 and credited to Sir Henry Raeburn, depicts the Reverend Robert Walker performing what activity on the frozen Dunningston Loch?
Baptism.
No, it was ice skating. And Paul, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've now got a total of 20 points.
Thank you.
Next up is Patrick. So, Patrick, you start with 11 points. The score to beat as it stands is 20 points, and you've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. In a postal address, the letters AVE are an abbreviation of what word for a wide road?
Avenue.
Yes. The name of what marine creature is derived from Greek words for 8 and foot?
Octopus.
Yes. Which American actress earned her 20th Oscar nomination for her performance in the title role of the 2016 film Florence Foster Jenkins?
Gothmog.
No, Meryl Streep. What's the full name of the former NBA champion basketball player, commonly known as Shaq, whose many other nicknames included the Diesel and Superman?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yes, what term derived from the Italian word for fish is used to describe a person who eats seafood in an otherwise vegetarian diet?
Pescatarian.
Yes, what was the name of the American fund manager and former chairman of the Nasdaq stock market who died in April 2021, having been imprisoned 12 years earlier for defrauding thousands of investors?
Bernie Madoff.
Yes, what word for a front-running athlete or horse is also the name given to a medical device implanted in the body which produces rhythmic electrical impulses to regulate a patient's heartbeat?
Pacemaker.
Yes, in 1668, which English writer was appointed by Charles II as the first official poet laureate?
Ooh. Pope?
No, John Dryden, the Baikonur Cosmodrome, which is the launch site for most Russian space missions and is where Yuri Gagarin's historic flight into orbit was launched from in 1961, is in which former Soviet republic?
Kazakhstan.
Yes, which American singer, who had a UK hit single in 1984 with Girls Just Want to Have Fun, won a Tony Award in 2013 for her score of the stage musical Kinky Boots?
Cyndi Lauper.
Yes, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has its permanent headquarters in which US city?
Washington, D.C.
Yes, what word for a ceremony involving the ritual sprinkling of water on a person's head comes from a Greek term meaning to dip in water?
Christening.
No, baptism. Which television pundit and former footballer for Arsenal Women and England became the new host of Football Focus in August 2021?
Alex Scott.
Yes, what word that can mean to whiten or remove colour from something is used in cookery to mean to immerse almonds or tomatoes in boiling water to remove their skins?
Blanche.
Yes, the word crore is commonly used in Southern Asia to mean how many million?
Oh, 10 million.
Yes, the 1979 UK #1 single by the band Buggles, which 2 years later was the first music video to be played on MTV, is entitled Video Killed the...
Radio Star.
Yes, and Patrick, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you now have a total of 24 points. And finally, let's have Alice again, please. So, Alice, you start with 13 points, the score to beat to get through to the Mastermind Grand Final. Is Patrick's 24 points. And you've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. In 1927, the BBC changed its name from the British Broadcasting Company to the British Broadcasting what?
Corporation.
Yes. What word for something of little importance is also a name for a cold dessert, usually made with sponge cake and fruit covered with jelly and custard and topped with whipped cream?
Trifle.
Yes. What's the basic unit of currency in Turkey?
Pound.
No, the lira, the intergovernmental organisation known as the OPCW, which was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2013, is the organisation for the prohibition of what?
Landmines.
No, chemical weapons. Which American singer collaborated with George Michael on the 1999 UK hit single As, and with U2 on the song entitled One, which reached #2 in 2006?
Stevie Wonder.
No, Mary J. Blige. The Adonis blue, Chalk Hill blue and Holly blue are resident British species of what winged insect?
Butterfly.
Yes. What prestigious sailing trophy is affectionately nicknamed the Old Mug?
The America's Cup.
Yes, the stretch of successive streets of Castle Hill, Lawn Market, High Street, Canongate and Abbey Strand in the centre of Edinburgh are known by what regal-sounding collective name?
Royal Mile.
Yes, the annual 5-day Irish Festival of Culture held in a town in County Kerry and culminating in a contest for young women of Irish descent to win an ambassadorial role for a year is called the Rose of where?
Tralee.
Yes, what 2018 horror film starring Emily Blunt and John Krasinski is about a family who are forced to live in silence while hiding from monsters with ultra-sensitive hearing?
The scary film.
No, A Quiet Place. What word from the Greek for buttock goes before maximus in the medical name for one of the muscles in each of the human buttocks?
Gluteus.
Yes. What's the title of the television comedy series written by Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant and first shown in 2011, starring Warwick Davis as a fictionalized version of himself?
The Small Guy.
No, Life's Too Short. The 1964 painting The Son of Man by René Magritte depicts a man dressed in an overcoat and a bowler hat with his face obscured by what fruit?
An apple.
Yes, what system of weights normally used for precious metals is thought to derive its name from that of a French market town, though it's identical to the name of an ancient city?
Troy.
Yes. Which Unionist politician and co-founder of the Free Presbyterian Church of Ulster served as First Minister of Northern Ireland from 2007 to 2008?
MacDonald.
No, Ian Paisley. At the end of an agenda for a formal meeting, the letters AOB stand for what?
Any other business?
Yes. Which town in the West Midlands was granted city status in 2000 as part of the celebrations to mark the new millennium?
Wolverhampton.
It was Wolverhampton. And Alice, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you now have a total of 24 points. So let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 18 points, it's Will. In third place with 20 points, it's Paul. In joint first place, though, with 24 points each, Patrick and Alice. And they both have no passes too. So that means we've got a tie-break. And here's how it's going to work. I'll read the same 5 questions to each of the contenders, and the one with the highest score will win. And they're not against the clock this time. So let's ask Alice to leave the studio, and Patrick, if you would return to the black chair, please. So, Patrick, I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and I won't tell you whether you've got the answers right or wrong. We'll find that out in a moment. Here we go. Which actor and founder member of the comedy team, The League of Gentlemen, has also been a scriptwriter on Sherlock and Doctor Who?
Reese Shearsmith?
The composers Vivaldi and J.S. Bach belong to which musical period that followed the Renaissance and preceded the classical era and lasted from around 1600 to 1750?
That'd be Baroque.
In the mid-20th century, which British author who settled in Australia wrote the novels A Town Like Alice and On the Beach?
Neville Shute is coming to mind.
In Greek legend, which sculptor fell in love with a lifelike ivory statue of his ideal woman?
Heracleon.
What name is given to the part of a horse's leg between the fetlock and the top of the hoof?
Shank.
So those are your 5 questions. Thank you very much. You can return to your seat. And now let's have Alice back in the studio to take the black chair again. So Alice, I'll ask you the same 5 questions that Patrick has just answered, and this time the correct answers will appear on screen for the viewers at home. Which actor and founder member of the comedy team The League of Gentlemen has also been a scriptwriter on Sherlock and Doctor Who?
Steve Pemberton.
The composers Vivaldi and J.S. Bach belong to which musical period that followed the Renaissance and preceded the classical era and lasted from around 1600 to 1750?
Baroque.
In the mid-20th century, which British author who settled in Australia wrote the novels A Town Like Alice and On the Beach?
Neville Shute.
In Greek legend, which sculptor fell in love with a lifelike ivory statue of his ideal woman?
Pygmalion.
And what name is given to the part of a horse's leg between the fetlock and the top of the hoof?
The shin. I don't know.
And those are your 5 questions. Thank you very much. You can return to your seat. Well, at the end of that tiebreak, we now have a winner. Patrick has a total of 26 points, but tonight's winner with 27 points is Alice, which means that she goes through to the grand final. Congratulations to her. And those 5 answers were Mark Gatiss, the Baroque period, Neville Shute, Pygmalion, and Pastern. Join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.